Dear participants, good morning to all and welcome to the last day of this faculty development program and webinar series on latest trends and future prospects of biotechnology being conducted by Department of Biotechnology, NIT Andhra Pradesh. Today, the session is scheduled on intellectual property rights for biotechnology, for which the speaker is Professor H.S. Chawla. I take the privilege of introducing Professor H.S. Chawla. Professor Harvinder Singh Chawla, who is popularly known as H.S. Chawla, Professor and Head Genetics and Plant Breeding at G.P. Pant University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar. He has 40 years of experience on aspects of genetics and plant breeding, plant biotechnology, and intellectual property rights. Professor Chawla availed postdoc fellowship as DAD Fellow offered by German government during 1985 to 1987 and Indian government as DBT Overseas Associateship during 1993 to 1995 to work in Canada and visiting professorship to Germany by the German Academic Exchange Service or DAD in the year 1997. Professor H.S. Chawla was the nodal officer of Patent Information Center for IPR Affairs of the Uttarakhand state during 2002 to 2011 and also the nodal officer and chief executive officer of Intellectual Property Management Center of the university from 2005 to 2015. Sir has done extensive work on filing of patents, designs, copyrights, and registration of plant farmers varieties, and first time gave rights to the farmers by registering their varieties on their names in India. Sir has published books and manuals on genetics, biotechnology, and intellectual property rights. Professor Chawla has published a bi-monthly WTO IPR bulletin since 2002. One of his books, Introduction to Plant Biotechnology, has been published in Chinese and Persian languages also. Sir has recently released another textbook on Introduction to Intellectual Property Rights. Professor H.S. Chawla is also a member of various government committees like Biodiversity Authority, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Authority, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, and Bureau of Indian Standards, etc. Asian Productivity Organization Japan has nominated Dr. Chawla to serve as the chair in the Asia IPR conferences in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. As a resource person, Professor Chawla has visited many countries in Asia, Europe, and American continents. Sir is also a member editorial board of Journal of Intellectual Property Rights. With this introduction, I humbly request Professor H.S. Chawla to enlighten all of us with his rich expertise in the field of intellectual property rights related to biotechnology for today. Sir, you are welcome to deliver your talk. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dr. Rajeshwar, and welcome all the participants on this webinar seminar. As per the topic assigned to me is intellectual property rights for biotechnology. Basically, I'll start with what do you mean by intellectual property rights? When we talk about anything, intellectual property right or intellectual property is product of your mind and belongs to you just like your house, mobile, or car. Before I go to the main topic on biotechnology aspects, what the human being is always trying to do, always thinking something to do. You have always something in your mind which is not visible. But you always create something out of your mind. So, what is intellectual property? If you see, for example, a car, a house, or a mobile. These are tangible things. That means which you could see, you could feel. But the thing, what is in your mind, nobody knows about what is going in your mind. So, but when you create something out of your mind, that means the product of your mind in a particular form, that is converting intangible thing into a tangible thing. That is the intellectual property. So, since you have created something, so it will belong to you just like your house, mobile, or car. So that's what, if we talk about the definition, intellectual property rights can be defined as the rights given to people over the creation of their minds, as I mentioned. So whatever you have been creating it, so the government tries to give you certain rights that okay, you are the owner of that particular property. That is an exclusive right so that you can use your creations for a certain period of time. Before I explain, you must know what is the genesis about this intellectual property rights. Uh, Basically, it was from the TRIPS. It was in 1947-48 when we had GATT agreement, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. That means when you are trading something, how much tariff was to be put. That uh, that was enacted in 1947 and implemented from 1st January 1948. And there used to be different rounds of negotiation. But in the Uruguay round of negotiation, we started in 1986. They wanted to bring in agriculture as a tradable commodity, which the developing countries were not agreeing because most of the developing countries' economy was dependent on agriculture and they never wanted that their economy is dealt by some other international organization. So naturally, then there is a give and take. So ultimately, the Uruguay round of negotiation concluded on December 15, 1993, and agreement was signed at Marrakesh, Morocco on 15th April 1994, and that resulted into the existence of a new organization which we now call as WTO or World Trade Organization. So GATT gave into a new organization, WTO. So basically there are three main features are there in this WTO. This is a multilateral trade negotiations. That means there are about 59 different agreements are there. If you are signatory to that one, so each country has to agree to all the agreements which are annexed in that treaty. You cannot choose some and you can leave some other. That is not there. Second is those who are members, no one has the veto power. Each and every country has the equal right in that one. It's like in UNO, certain countries have the veto power. So each and every country has the same right. Then in UNO, there is a veto power and all those things. Naturally, when the countries are member, disputes arises. When the disputes arises, then just like we have International Court of Justice, so in this there is a dispute settlement body. A member country, if has a dispute on some other countries, so they will refer the dispute to the dispute settlement body, and whatever is the decision of arbitrator, that will be agreeable or that will be implemented by both the parties. So these are some of the features of this WTO. India is also a member of this WTO. Now, if we come to the main topic, biotechnology and patenting. There are different features in biotechnology like genetic engineering, regeneration protocols, transformation procedures, GMO seeds, bioinformatics, genomics, cloning. So all these things are to be dealt in the intellectual property rights. So there are different forms of intellectual property. As I said, we have converted intangible form into a tangible form. There are 7 different forms which have been recognized. First category is industrial property. Under the industrial property, there are 3 different types: patents, designs are industrial designs, and trademarks. Copyright is there. Then there are others like trade secrets, layout designs of integrated circuits, geographical origins or geographical indications. And the fallout of this thing is Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act 2001 and the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Before we go into the main topic again, I'll be restricting my talk to the patenting, but I'll give some idea about the different forms. As I started my presentation, that you have already some idea. And if you have idea and it is being expressed in a form, for example, I'm presenting you. This is my PP presentation. So now you could see, you could watch. So whatever was in my mind, I have expressed in the PPT presentation. So that is being governed by copyright. If I write a book, artist is there, your question papers, all these things come under copyright. Idea is there, and if you invent something, that means either a new product or a new process, which we'll be talking in the next 1 hour. So that is governed under patent system. Then if idea is there, you make a drawing, certain ornamental appearance. For example, when you go to buy a car, you always look for the outer features first. Its design is very beautiful. So it's only the ornamental features, appearance of that particular thing. It doesn't concern with the product or new process or anything else is designed. Then if you see, for example, Coca-Cola feature, Pepsi, Sony, HP, Microsoft, there is nothing like invention, nothing like PPT presentation, nothing like writing a book. It's only 4-letter, 8-letter, 6-letter words are there. That is the trademark. But that is a very important thing. You buy a particular thing on the basis of a name of the particular thing. For example, you take a Bisleri bottle. The water in the bottle just costs ₹1. If you remove the label, this bottle, mineral water bottle, doesn't have any value. Its value is only ₹1. But the moment a label is there, you are ready to pay 20 rupees. Because you know there is a water which is being marketed by Bisleri, water must be pure, all those things, hygienic and all those things. If, for example, TV is there is a Sony TV. You go and this is a goodwill feature. Identity, they identify goodwill feature. Then idea. For example, trade secrets. They are not governed by any IP law. Basically, these are contractual civil laws out there. These are being governed by this one. You do research. But when you do research, you do not get the same result after reading the research paper. Why? The reason being, some of the tricks, some of the chemicals, some of the things which you do not disclose in the research paper. That's why you do not get the same result. That is your trade secret. And if I give you little bit in more detail, Coca-Cola. My lecture is not basic on IPR and overview. This is a well-guarded trade secret. This formula is being held by two persons kept in a vault. And those two persons are not supposed to travel together by air. Because if by chance the plane crashes, the formula will also go. You can do it, you can crack it by reverse engineering and any other thing. But nobody can use that particular formula because of the trade secret. So these are some of the things. Besides that, there is a GI, which is not for new, but for the old things. If there are any question, then I'll talk about, but these are some of the things which I have talked in general. In general, IPR's intellectual property rights apply to new and original knowledge and not to what is already known. So that means everything, trademark, this thing should be new and original knowledge, except for GI, which is already known. This is on geographical indications. For example, geographical indication for Allahabad guava, your Kanjivam sarees, all those things, these are being geographical indication. They are very specific to a one geographical area. I talked about WTO, there are different agreements. And one of the agreement is the TRIPS, trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. And that's what I said, there are 7 different forms in the TRIPS. And one of the form is patent. We'll be devoting most of the time on patenting. Patent is an official written document giving the holder the sole right to sell something they have invented for a stated number of years. That means you have invented a new product or a new process, and you have submitted that process or new product to the government in an official document, official written document, and then the government gives you right for a certain number of years. It has certain features like monopoly. That means basically you are restricting others not to use that one. It is state approved. That means government will approve, particular government. It's right to exclude. Basically, it's a negative right. That means you are excluding others not to use simply because that right belongs to you. Unless and until you pay something, rewards to the holder of that invention, you are not entitled to use that invention. Limited duration, basically right now, it is for 20 years. Territorial right, you must remember, if you got a right, that means patent right in India, your right exists within the boundaries of India. If you have got a patent in USA, your right exists only in USA. So you cannot browbeat that, okay, you have got a patent in USA and you say, oh, I have got a patent in USA, nobody can use in the world. It's not the case. If you want a patent right, you have to take right in each and every country. There are rules how to go about that. Then there are fees and other regulations. But how to get a patent? There are only 3 simple features. Novelty, that means your invention must be new. New. Novel at the global level. It doesn't mean that, okay, you found it in your particular area or in India, that is it's novel. No, it's not the case. Novelty at the global level. So that's why you have to go through different databases to check all those things. Certain databases are free, certain are paid on minute basis and all those things. Then second aspect is that whatever your invention is, it should be useful. If that invention is not useful, patent right cannot be granted. And if it is granted, and then somebody complains that this is not useful, this can be revoked. Some patent offices mention It's not simply the usefulness, but it is the industrial applicability. That your invention should be applicable industrially. And the third feature is non-obviousness. What is the inventiveness? It is not that each and everything is total new. And when non-obviousness in the technical language we say, it was not obvious to the person who is skilled in that art. It was not obvious to the person who is skilled in that art. For example, if biotechnology invention is there, that will be judged by biotechnologists. If an invention is a chemistry based, it will be judged by chemistry. If an invention is based, for example, on a cobbler or something else, that will be judged with the level of a cobbler. To give you an example, one or two examples to make you understand. For example, as I said, what is inventive? What is the inventiveness? If, for example, some invention is, for example, for a cobbler, that will be judged by the cobbler. To give another example, for example, a piece of wire. If it is just fold it, it will be a jam clip. If you just press it and point it at the other end, it will be a simple needle, all pin. If you put a hole on one end, it will be a needle. Then you put a hole in both the ends, it will be a stitching needle. And do you know the latest patent on the simple wire has been granted in 2012. You know for what? The inventor has put a hole which is an oblong that gives a different type of stitch. So he could mention, he could say that it is usefulness for different type of stitches and the patent has been granted. So that's what your mind should think about, that what is the usefulness of that particular invention. So I'll be restricting all my examples to the basically on living organisms related to the biotechnology aspects, not on the other things. When the TRIPS came and all those things were there, patenting was granted. It was on the machines and all those things. And Louis Pasteur, as a biotechnologist, you must be doing it, pasteurization, sterilization, and all those things. The patent was granted on pasteurization improvement. The patent was granted on improvement in the manufacture of beer from the yeast. The patent number is given 141072. You can open the USPTO site, put patent number, you will find the same claim. Nothing new. Only thing I'm trying to explain to you. These were the two claims: a method of obtaining pure yeast by eliminating the organic germs of disease from brewer's yeast, and yeast free from organic germs of disease as an article of manufacture. It was a process patent. And that's what you have been doing, is sterilization. And these are the original diagrams submitted by Louis Pasteur in the patent, and you could see the date number, patent number, patented July 22nd, 1873. As I mentioned 2 minutes ago, Louis Pasteur patent was on pasteurization, a process, manufacture of pure organic free, germ free yeast. You have heard the name Anand Chakrabarty. He submitted a patent application. He genetically engineered microorganisms Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Pseudomonas foetida. These are the two different strains which have been mentioned here. These are the two strains which were capable to absorb oil pollution, which could degrade hydrocarbons due to the oil slicks present in the ocean. But when he submitted the application, the patent office refused to grant the patent. they rejected the application. Anand Chakrabarti went to the court, and it is normally referred as Diamond versus Chakrabarti case. Diamond was the commissioner of USPTO, and the decision came in 1974, a split decision, 5:4, and the decision was anything under the sun made by man is patentable subject matter. If product of nature is new, useful, and non-obvious, it may be patented. So, since the person had created it, that means on that earth, and which was able to degrade certain things, ultimately patent was granted. So that became the basis, this patent on microorganism, to lead the way that patents on other organisms, plants and animals, this can also be granted. So that was the starting point of granting patent on living organism. These are the details because it was granted. Ultimately, decision came in 1981, but the date was filed was June 7, 1972. So that way, the work started from that particular. These are the little bit details abstract which is submitted, and all the details are mentioned here. I have given now the brief history of patenting biotechnology in India. Till 2002, patents were not granted for inventions relating to living entities of natural or artificial origin, biological materials or other materials, substances derived from such materials, that means from living organisms, any processes for the production of substances entities, including nucleic acids. I forgot one thing. Now, this WTO, when it was formally signed, that became operative from 1st January 1995. That is very important. I just missed that particular point. WTO came into existence on 1st January 1995. And they gave to developing countries like India, developing countries, 10 years to make their laws compatible with the TRIPS agreement. For developed countries, there was no time gap because they were developed countries. For developed countries, they gave 10 years. So we had the time limit up to 31st December 2004, 10 years. Most of the laws were created between 1995 and 2004. So that's why we are talking about brief history of that one. For least developed countries, they still give more time. So I'm restricting my talk to India, a developing country. So till 2002, patents were not granted for inventions on living organisms. However, patents could be granted for processes or products of non-living substances by chemical process, bioconservation, and microbiological processes, preparation of antibodies, and all those things. A case appeared in 2002 in Calcutta High Court, Diminaco versus Controller of Patents, Designs and Trademarks. Basically, there was a lyophilized compound which Controller of Patents refused to grant patent. But the patentee went to the court and Calcutta High Court mentioned that, okay, patent should be granted. This is in detail, the whole thing. And they say that end product is a commercial entity and all those things. So that started the way, asserted that one of the most common tests was the vendability, saleable or marketable test. So that fulfills the criteria, so patent should be granted. So from 2002, that we started granting patents on the natural process and product containing living substance because it was a lyophilized substance containing living organisms. The microorganisms and microbiological inventions can be patented in India under Patents Act 1970. As I mentioned, we had the Patents Act 1970. And our law, Patents Act, was not totally compatible with the TRIPS regulation. So first amendment came in 1999. Second amendment of Patents Act 1970 came in 2002. So that provided that a strain, if it is new, provision of patent protection, because under TRIPS regulation, we have to grant patent on microorganisms if it is new. It's not the original strain. At this stage, you must remember what is the difference between invention and discovery. Invention is you create something new. Discovery is which is already present in the nature. For example, certain chemicals are present in the earth, organisms are present in the nature. So if certain organism is present in the nature, you found out the way to where that organism is present. You cannot get a patent right in there because this is a discovery. So as I mentioned in that Anand Chakrabarty case also, they gave a strain number. This is the strain which had the plasmids having the degradable properties of hydrocarbons. So that strain was patented. So you cannot get all the pseudomonas patented under the name of Chakrabarty. So that particular strain. So whenever there is a new strain, so we started granting patent from May 20th May 2003 in India. Earlier, the invention of micro were not patented, but Article 27.3b, which is relevant, which I mentioned, it stated the parties may exclude from patentable plants and animals other than microorganisms. I'll not go into the technical language. You know that there are three different organisms: microorganisms, plants, and animals. So microorganisms under this regulation have to be patented. For plants and animals, it says it's up to the governments whether they want to patent or not. Again, for plants and animals, there is a different criteria will be coming in the next slides. Inventor, so once you have found out a new strain, then inventor has to deposit the new strain in any recognized international depository, because the government gives you right for a certain period of time. So you must take after period, the time period has elapsed, that means that is over. Then each and everybody can use that particular thing. So under the Budapest Treaty, this is an international convention governing the recognition of microbial deposits, is there, and later amended in 1980. There are 34 international depositories for deposit of microbial cultures, and India signed the Budapest Treaty on this 17 December 1998. And we have one center, Microbial Type Culture Collection, MTCC at Institute of Microbial Technology, IMTech, Chandigarh. This is a recognized international depository for certain kinds of micro. It's not for each and every microorganism. So if you're working on a microorganism and you found out a new which is going to be patented, you have to find out that which particular organism is taking for deposition. Before filing the patent application involving the microorganism, inventor has to deposit the strain to International Depository Authority. You have to quote the number and all those things. Then your patent application will be processed. Likewise, for on any living organism, you have to deposit that particular thing with the Biodiversity Authority of India, BDA. Head office is in Chennai. So that number has to be mentioned that this is a strain or the particular variety number which I have deposited the strain. So that is again very important for getting patent. As far as biotechnology is concerned, under TRIPS Article 27.1, it says patent shall be made available for any invention, whether process, product, or process in all fields of technology. That means biotechnology is also included in that one, all fields of technology, provided they are new, inventive step and industrial application. Article 27.3, I have already mentioned, plants and animals other than microalgae, that microalgae to be patented. For parties shall provide for the protection of plant varieties. So as far as plants are concerned, so either plant varieties should be protected by patents or by an effective sui generis system or by any combination. That means plant varieties are to be protected either by patent, or you can make your own law as per your convenience, or you can have a combination of patent or sui generis system combination there. So we have enacted for protection of plant varieties an Act, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act 2001. In this Article 27.3b, for animals, it is silent. So each and every country in the world, they can decide whether they want to protect animals by patents or not. There is no regulation on that one. At present in India, we are not registering or patenting animals in India. So I'll repeat, at least the major microorganisms, new might are to be protected by patent system. Plant varieties are to be protected under the PPV and FR Act 2001. They are to be registered, a soft version of patent. For animals, we are not protecting either by registration or by patent system. So last amendment came in 2005, but before that time was running out. So on 27 December 2004, government enacted an ordinance and formally amendment was there. Now our Indian patent law is fully TRIPS compliant. We are granting one of the things which was lacking. We are granting product patent with respect to drugs and medicines, agrochemicals, metallic compounds, products of chemical reaction, including biotechnological, biochemical, and microbiological origin. So that product patent was not there till 2005. So there were certain conditions, EMR was there, but now we are totally compatible and we are granting product patent. This is to safeguard our industry that was a system. Life of patent, if it is granted, is 20 years from the date of priorities. This one of the most important feature is compulsory licensing, which is also being challenged. So that clause is there. There are rules on filing fees on number of pages. Now the rules have changed in the present. Only certain number of pages are allowed, and if there are more number of pages, you have to pay more. There are both pre-grant and post-grant opposition. Before the grant and after the grant also, you can oppose it. There is fast-track grant of patent. It's a fast-track grant of patent means you have to simply understand. When you submit an application, the patent office keeps your patent application in dormant condition for 18 months. You have to simply see whether you want to proceed further for grant of patent or not. So for 18 months, this is not being disturbed. But if you think your invention is very novel and it has commercial viability, you can write to the patent office that, okay, I want to go ahead with that one and my application should be examined immediately. You have to pay fees and all those things immediately. So that means it will not wait for 18 months. It will be immediately taken up. So that means fast track grant of patent. Then if you want to file patent outside India, as everybody thinks that if you got a US patent, that has a value. So if you want to file in any other country outside India, either you have to file first in India or you have to take permission from the Indian Patent Office You don't want patent in India which doesn't have any commercial viability. So I want to file in any other country of the world. So that is the procedure. In India, as I mentioned, living plants or animals or human beings are not patentable. For plants, we go for registration of varieties. Modified animals are patentable in certain countries, Japan, Korea, Hungary, and South Africa. Plant varieties can be patented in some countries like USA. In India, as I mentioned, we have a protection of plant varieties registration process under PPV and FR Act 2001. And from May 2003, all the modified microorganisms can be patented, but inventor has to deposit the strain. You have to remember all this. Giving 2-3 slides only for plants, then we'll move to the core biotechnology. If we talk about historical aspects, USA always works in one direction, Europe was in another direction. For protection of plants, US enacted US Plant Patent Act in 1930, which was only for the protection of asexually reproduced plants. Then they made Plant Variety Protection Act 1970. It was for sexually reproducing plants. On the other hand, Europe went about an organization, they enacted an organization, UPO, Union for Protection of New Varieties of Plants. I'm giving English name of it. Union for the Protection of New Varieties of Plants. Because New World doesn't have any old things of biodiversity. It's only in the developing countries most of the biodiversity exists. So they had first meeting in Paris in 1961, and that was enforced in 1968. And then there are two acts are there, UPO 1978 and 1991 acts for giving breeders rights, those who have developed new varieties. I'm mentioning or highlighting, emphasizing on the word new. UPO 1978 and 1991 acts are for granting plant breeders' right, those who have developed new varieties of plants. On that line, Hibbert patent was first application was put. This is the patent number, tryptophan overproducer mutants of cereal crops. Patent was filed and the inventors are Hibbert and co-worker. In India, as I mentioned, we are protecting plant varieties, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act. And Indian Act is unique in the world where we have given rights to researchers, breeders, as well as to the farmers. No country in the world has given so many rights to the farmers as Indian government has given rights to the farmers. What we are trying to do, we are trying to protect, we are registering varieties, not patenting. Novel means new varieties. Extant varieties means varieties which have been released and notified under the Seeds Act of 1960. That means these are old. UPO was for new varieties, but we are trying to register or we are registering old varieties also because we are protecting our biodiversity. Further, we are also protecting farmers' variety which have been traditional grown by our forefathers and all those things. So that's what we are trying to protect our biodiversity. Again, there are three simple features as per patent. The new variety has to be distinct, show distinctiveness, or at least one character. Variety should be uniform, depending upon self-pollinated crop or cross-pollinated crop, and it should be stable. For essential character, that means characters are transmitted by genetic material. They are not gone by environmental. And if variety is new, then novel features should be there. But for old farmers variety, extant varieties, only dust features are there. But for new, and dust is there. That is the criteria. So in short, variety developer bidder and thus extant thus farmers variety. These are the different acts by the different countries in the Asia. If you see India, Indian Active Protection Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right Act, whereas no other country in the Asia, farmers' word has come into the act. This paper has been reviewed in Indian Journal of Intellectual Property Rights for the Asian countries. I'll not go into the details. Indian Patents Act 19 amendment has excluded from the plants and animals as a whole any process of medical, surgical. Uh, what I have mentioned here in the Indian Patents Act 1970, you normally think everything is patented, but it's not the case. There are certain things which are not patentable. They come under Section 3 as well as Section 4. Under Section 3, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, the different sections. These are the some of the sections which are relevant to the organism. Section 3J, Section 3I. So that's what I mentioned. Plants and animals as a whole or any part and they are not, including seeds, are not patentable. Medical, surgery, curative, prophylactic activity, again, these are not patentable. So these are some of the things which are not patentable. And under Section 4, they are specially related to atomic energy. They are being non-patentable. There is another thing every government keeps within their under their right, and that is mentioned under TRIPS also. States may exclude from patentable inventions the prevention within the territory of commercial agreement, which is necessary to protect order public or morality. If any invention infringes public order or morality, so you can exclude. The government always has the right, so they will not grant patent if that comes under this category, public order and morality. So under this, states may exclude inventions, human beings, treatment procedures. So in India also, human beings and the treatment procedures are neither patentable in India nor anywhere else. Because if somebody has done something, so which is required for the population, and they say, I have got a patent, so the government says, no, it will not be allowed. Now coming to the core biotechnology, having gone through the basics of at a broader level on living organisms, living plants and animals, you know, Cohen and Boer and Cohen gene cloning, 1972, Berg first recombinant DNA, and then Boer and Cohen, this gene cloning protocol of this thing. Both Stanley Cohen and Herbert Boer, I will not go into the details, it will take too much time. They were reluctant to file patent. They say this is okay, we have developed something as you have been doing in our past professors. They were doing research, they were publishing papers only. Nobody bothered about getting patents. So they thought that we have published it. What is the need of getting going for the patent? But ultimately they were forced by Neil Reimers, founder of Stanford University Technology Commercial Program, that okay, you should go for patenting. And original 1974 application, both the process, and they further filed 2-3 more patents, and ultimately all those patents were granted. This is in chart. Under the US, all the 3 patents have expired on 2nd December because they got the priority date from the first patent, and at that time 20 years limit was not there. It was less than 20 years. So that's why the patents rights finished on 2nd December 1997 because they had claimed priority of invention on the basis of 1974 application. But you see how much money both the universities and Stanford University and University of California had made US $255 million in licensing revenues, and a total of this much, 2,442 products were developed from the patented technology, and so much revenue was generated. The licenses generated over US 35 billion in sales during the lifespan of the patent. That is the value of the patent. Now, coming to the biological material, as I mentioned, they have to be deposited in the authorized depository. If any living material is there, source and geographical origin you have to mention, not only for microorganisms, for each plant and animal, if it is used in the patent. Coming to the final level, at the DNA level, purified and isolated DNA sequences are new compositions of matter. Because the DNA which is present in the nature, which is complex with the proteins, histoproteins, and all those things. But when you isolate it, that is separated from those things, this is a new form. So that is patentable. But remember, it is not that you have isolated and put a string on your rod when you are doing isolation of DNA, that is, you got a patent. You have to prove that this is a novel, non-obviousness, and this is useful. Unless and until these three criteria are fulfilled, you cannot get it right. But yes, purified and isolated DNA sequences, when they fulfill the criteria, then they are eligible for patent protection. If a patent protection discloses only the nucleic acid molecular structure, then it is non-patentable. Indian Patents Act 90 allow inventions on isolation for a cell like DNA, gene sequences, polypeptide sequence, vector molecule, etc., for which their guidelines, biotechnology applications have been issued in 2002. Sometimes, for example, you isolate a polynucleotide sequence, and sequence is there, and you have not assigned any particular function, that activity or function of the said sequence, and has not been previously determined. So if it has been determined that this sequence has this particular function, this is a sequence, then you can get the right, otherwise not. There are so many finer details which I cannot discuss in 2-3 minutes. But as a main issue, that okay, you have isolated, you have to prove that this isolated DNA sequence, you can submit it in the gene bank, that okay, this is the gene bank sequence, but you have not given any function. The moment you are given function with a particular sequence, then you are eligible for the patent right. If the claimed invention relates to polyacrylate in a non-single polymer which does not result in an unexpected function whatever, then claimed sequence lacks inventive step. So that's why I'm saying, if it is a function, you must prove that this particular sequence has a function which has not been claimed so far. So that's why that you are eligible to get a patent. These are some of the more examples on that one, products of mine which are eligible or not. Now you have an expression vector. You are working on genetic transformation. You are cloning a vector and all those things. When you make an expression vector, what does mean? That expresses. It has a promoter, operator, all those sequences. Why do you call promoter sequence? Because there is this polymerase binding site operator that produces a particular thing. That means that there are certain functions with each and every particular sequence. So that means that particular sequence has a particular function, and that sequence is specific. That means you can get a patent right on that one. Not theoretical. I have given certain examples. Novel expression vector in India, Astra Foundation, vector for introduction of a gene and a method of producing transgenic plants and all those things. That means that is protectable by patent system. Coming to genetic transformation technology, when you talk about, people say plant tissue culture, that is an essential step. when you go for genetic transformation. That's true. So when you go for micropropagation, you go for organogenesis, embryogenesis, and all those micropropagation, whether those processes are patentable or not. Yes, I'm using the word the processes. In organogenesis or in embryogenesis, you grow a certain explant on a nutrient media with certain growth regulator combinations. They are very specific. Or when you clone a particular plant, orchids are being grown, are being propagated, micropropagated, and all those. All these processes have been patented. I've given the example, but I'll not mention it. Now, I have talked about expression vector. Again, that is protected. Now, when you do transformation, there are different processes of transformation, agrobacterium mediated transformation, ballistic method, and all those things. In fact, I have worked on all those processes. All these processes are patentable processes. I'll give example and then you will understand much more. And these are the results, PCR amplification of the protein, all those things. Basically, if you are mentioning all those processes with the proof that this is novelty, non-obviousness, it is usefulness, these are protectable by patent system. Everybody knows that, okay, transformation, genetic engineering process for the incorporation of foreign DNA into genome of dicotyledonous plant using stable co-integrate plasmids, special for root and hillock. These are the details mentioned process. Transformation of tomato by Japan Tobacco Company, agrobacterium transformation, then transformation of rice, monocotyledon, scutellum of immature embryos. So one after another, the process was patented. But what they got the right, what was the improvement, what was the non-obviousness over the previous invention. So that was given the right. The process continues. Transformation of indica rice. Earlier it was in 1994, it was Japonica rice. Company is the same, Japan Tobacco Company. Then this was on indica rice. Agrobacterial transformation of plants, this was other thing. Then improved efficiency. The title is not simple transformation, improved efficiency. This was held by Monsanto. And that was a patent, and then all the BT gene and all those processes which Indian government got the rights and paid huge amount of money. So the point here is, in short, it is not that you have created altogether a new thing. It is basically something was there and you made invention which is 10-20% better than the previous invention. Then the government or the patent authority, patent granting authority thinks that, okay, this was a significant improvement over that one. So they give the right on that particular significant part of that invention. You have heard golden rice. These are the different ones. There are more than 70 patents on that one. I think up around 80 patents are there. So that's why this golden rice technology was very expensive. I've mentioned the companies and all those things. Likewise, terminator technology, genetic use restriction technology, GERD. There were 16 patents involved, and patent holder was control of plant gene expression, which was held by United States Department of Agriculture and Delta and Pineland Company, so owned by government company. So when PPB and FR Act, so one of the conditions was there, those who are in agriculture background. So we had put a condition, if that variety, new variety has a GERD technology, a terminator technology, that will not be registered in India. So that was the reason. As far as your ECR technology, primers which you identify new, that identify specific bands with that particular disease or that particular marker, they are again protectable by patent system. These are the different patents, little bit old, but to make you understand that yes, these are being granted. USPTO has issued certain guidelines, and I have given some examples on the latest technologies on microRNA based diagnostics, RNA interference, RNA technology, transformation approaches have also been patented. There have been controversies, but to make you understand that, okay, these things are patentable. If you are filing patent in different countries, you must understand there are differences in US and European patent law. And one thing, since it was not on patenting procedure, uh, if you want to file patent abroad, you don't have to go to a particular country, to USA or Europe, for filing the patent application. There is a treaty, Patent Cooperation Treaty, which we call as PCT. India is signatory to PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty, and our Indian patent offices are the receiving office. You can file an application, PCT application, in the Indian patent office, designating the countries where you want to have the right in those countries. So, sitting in your office, because online applications are being processed with a less amount of money, there are discounts rather than offline. So you don't have to go to any country. India is signatory to PCT. There are differences on USPTO and European Patent Office on biotechnology. In US, no attempt has been made to implement strict regulation, whereas there are strict guidelines under 98 of Big Four and all those in 98. US patents on human embryonic stem cells have been granted. In Europe, the ethics of stem cell patent is a debatable issue. UK has certain other laws. Japan has certain other laws. So you have to think in which country, and you have to consider the patent rules and all the guidelines, then you have to go. The last part is little bit information on bioinformatics. Basically, in short, there are tools, process, and products. In short, computer software is not protectable by patent system. In bioinformatics, informatics is your computer software. That is not protected by patent system, but computer software is only protected by copyright. When your software is integrated with the hardware, then only it is a patentable subject matter. If you read the statement, a machine product programmed in a new and non-obvious way was found to be a physically different machine, which is a patentable subject matter. Hardware in bioinformatics, array technology, grid gate, photolithography, these all techniques are patentable. Methods, as I mentioned, USPTO is always lenient, business methods, but EPO, they are restrictive. Products, I have mentioned in the last statement that these are unpatentable as such, unless and until it is being integrated with the hardware. These are some of the US patents on bioinformatics which have been granted, not theoretical, but I'm giving you examples also. In India, we have again certain guidelines. Government of India has computer related guidelines. That's what is there. As a publicity matter, in my introduction, Dr. Rajeshwar has mentioned, I've written a book on introduction to intellectual property rights because we formulated a course for State Agriculture University, one of member of the committees of our guide and the 15th committee. So we have been teaching course on intellectual property rights at undergraduate level in the third year. So these are the different topics which have been put up in that book, compatible with, especially for agriculture universities as well as for the biotechnology students. There are three parts. One is general on intellectual property rights. That intellectual property rights and biosafety, bioethics are there, and basis of introduction to intellectual property right, basics of So these are bioethics, biosafety, all these parts have been IP protection, biosafety, and ethical issues, IP protection and conservation of biological processing, and IPR, different forms. So all these things have been covered in the book on Introduction to Intellectual Property Rights.
Well, it is the time to thank the speaker of today's session, that is Professor H.S. Chawla, who delivered a lecture on intellectual property rights for biotechnology. Sir, really, your session was excellent, very interesting, informative, and elaborative. The thing you spoke on today really helps many young minds in filing patents or getting the copyrights, etc. We all are blessed to listen to you, sir. Thank you, sir, firstly, accepting my invitation and sparing time to deliver your talk as part of this FDP cum webinar series being conducted by Department of Biotechnology, NIT Andhra Pradesh. Thank you again, sir.